have 5 agency fee-funded budgets to get through, so let's start right away. First on our agenda is Governmental Ethics Commission, and we'll have a budget overview by research by Sharday Kane. Welcome, Sharday.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, so you go right ahead.
Okay. Before I begin, I would like to mention that the Governmental Ethics Commission Executive Director Mark Skoglund is available via WebEx, I believe, for any questions the committee may have that I cannot answer. The Governmental Ethics Commission is charged with administering, interpreting, and enforcing the Campaign Finance Act and laws relating to conflicts of interest, financial disclosure, and the regulation of lobbying. The Commission also renders advisory opinions and can adopt rules and regulations. The first few pages of the budget analysis provide a budget summary, major issues from the past 10 years, performance measures, and budget trends. And I'd be happy to go over that, or I can move forward to the budget overview.
Why don't you move to the budget overview? And we do have Mark with us in the audience today if he would like to chat with us about anything that you said, but you go ahead and do the budget in interest of time. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. The 2020 legislature approved a state general, I'm on page 9. That's where we'll begin. The 2020 legislature approved a state general fund budget of $470,227 in fiscal year 2021. One adjustment in the form of a decrease of $23,285 was made as the result of the governor's June 2020 SGF allotment. This was specifically for funding to make the half-time attorney full-time, and the agency decided to use funds from the Governmental Ethics Commission fee fund to offset the costs related to the full-time attorney. The agency requests a revised estimate of $717,311, including $446,942 SGF. This is an all funds increase of $6,172 above the approved fiscal year 2021 amount, primarily attributable to conversion of that part-time attorney to a full-time equivalent position as approved by the 2020 legislature. The agency funded the position by reducing contractual service costs for billed information technology expenses, budgetary shifts, and temporary data entry assistance. Unless you would like me to stop here for questions, I will move forward to fiscal year 2022.
Why don't you go ahead and continue?
Okay, that's on page 12. The agency requests $723,764, including $450,388 in SGF for fiscal year 2022. This is an all funds increase of $6,453, including an SGF increase of $3,446 and a special revenue fund increase of $3,007 above the fiscal year 2021 revised estimate. The request includes 8 full-time equivalent positions, which is the same number as the fiscal year 2021 revised estimate. These increases are primarily attributable to adjustments to fringe benefits. On page 13, you will find the fiscal year 2022 reduced resources budget that the governor requested to be included in some of the agency requests. The reduced resources budget of $45,039 or 10% was decreased primarily from the reduction of postage, printing, commission meeting costs, delaying computer replacements, and the elimination of the court reporter fees. The remaining SGF was swapped for special revenue funds or money from the Governmental Ethics Commission fee fund. The governor did not recommend adoption of the reduced resource budget. And again, I will pause here for questions, or I can move forward to fiscal year 2023.
Why don't you continue? We'll catch them all at the end, Sharday.
Okay, sounds good. On page 14, the agency requests $735,577, including $450,388 SGF for fiscal year 2023. This is an all funds increase of $11,813, all from special revenue funds above the fiscal year 2022 request. These increases are primarily attributable to costs related to it being an election year. The requests include 8 full-time equivalent positions, which is the same as the fiscal year 2022 request. The remaining pages of the document give an overview of salary and wage adjustments, funding sources, including the Governmental Ethics Commission fee fund, and additional information about licensing and the major expenditure categories. This completes my analysis, and I will stand for questions regarding the budget in its entirety.
Thank you, Sade. Really well done, very succinct. Do you have any questions for Sade? Senator Fascadeau.
Good morning, Sade. You're doing a great job. Good to see you. So, in your statement of monies that went towards a full-time attorney, is that just temporary, or did they go back to part-time?
They are full-time permanently now.
And what was that dollar amount for that increase for the?
I believe it was about $20,000, and for fiscal year 2021, the agency is going to use money from the Governmental Ethics Commission fee fund. However, moving forward, it will be in the state general fund money.
Senator Fascadeau, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for the analyst. My question would be, why is the department predicting a decline in revenue? And I'm looking on page 18, where, I understand it would change depending on if it's an election year or not an election year. Every year now is an election year, but depending on if it's statewide elections. But I'm wondering why you're predicting that decline, and then what is the concern you have for a decline of over 50% in the ending balance?
Part of the reason for that decline is that the agency does not budget penalties within their predictions on what's coming in the future. So a lot of the discrepancies would be from that. And to my understanding, the agency is not concerned about that discrepancy because of that reason.
So that helps explain the revenue, but what about the change in the ending balance from $350,000 to $154,000? This is again on page 18.
Yes, I think I understand your question, but just to clarify, you want to know about the expenditure part of it, not the revenue part. So the expenditure piece would also, if you look at the less expenditures part for agency and for 2021 in general, it's 270, and then it goes up to 273 and then 285. So it's not as much of a gap between the number that they are spending for each year. The only difference is the actual revenue coming in. That's on the line to the revenue line is where the major jumps are.
Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know that we need to take any action this year, but I think that this is something we'll want to pay attention to, because if the fees have to be raised, then that would take legislative authorization.
Hey, I don't see any other questions. Mark, would you have anything to add to that to help the committee, and you accept the governor's recommendation as well? So just for the record, Mark Skolin, Executive Director, Kansas Governmental Ethics Commission. Good morning, Mark.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, members of the committee. I don't have any testimony because we didn't ask for any enhancements in this year's budget, but I do have a couple responses to those questions just to make sure we're all on the same page. With regard to the full-time attorney, this was something that was requested in last year's budget cycle and previously approved. There was extensive debate about having that full-time attorney, and thankfully, especially due to our current and ongoing investigatory caseload, as well as substantial increases in advisory opinions that are going to be requested, it is very, very nice to have a full-time attorney in the office when we definitely have over 40 hours a week of attorney work to be done. So we definitely have appreciated that change. With regard to the stability of the fee fund balance, so civil penalties and fees, like Sharday mentioned, are currently not part of the operational budget. Historically, that's how revenue has been projected, and so revenue always looks a little lower than what actually it is in reality. There's a legitimacy reason for that, is that an ethics commission should certainly not rely upon fining people and issuing fees, and certainly we don't operate that way. Now, budgeted expenditures are also a ceiling, not a floor, and so obviously expenditures will always be a little bit below what ends up actually being budgeted. And also revenue is bimodal. For example, in fiscal year 2020, we'll have, on the candidate registration side, I believe we'll receive about $71,000 of revenue. And in fiscal year 23, for example, a year when there's not as many people running, we'll receive, I believe, $14,000 on the candidate portion. And so revenue tends to be a little swingy in different years, but our projections are actually that, regardless of what you see as the ending balance on the 405 there, the actual projection is that the fee fund currently is stable. And the reason for this is, this was a concern a few years ago and has been previously. The reason why is because the SGF component of our budget had been reduced over time. So it actually was, at one point, almost 50% of our budget was SGF and 50% was the fee fund. However, the legislature resolved this problem and restored that SGF component of our budget. So we are back to that 65% SGF, 35% fee fund split, which allows for us to have a more stable, long-run ending balance in the fee fund. So we definitely appreciate that change the legislature implemented a few years ago. I can certainly answer any other questions if the committee has any.
I think that clears up a lot of thoughts that we had here, Mark, and we can tell you've been an analyst before too. You very succinct and do this well. In interest of time, committee, if we're all comfortable with this budget, we should move on to the next one so we catch them all so our committee members can report out on Friday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us, Mark, and in person also. We appreciate that. Do I have a motion from the committee to accept the governor's recommendation on the governmental ethics? I see Senator Dahl makes the motion. I think I saw Senator Haley's hand for second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion passes. All right, next we have Board of Veterinarian Examiners, and we have our budget overview by research by Victoria Potts. Good morning, Victoria.
Good morning, Madam Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Well, I will just jump straight into the budget then for the Board of Veterinary Examiners, and that the budget starts on page 1881. So on page 1881, I'm looking underneath the box. The agency estimates a revised 2021 expenditures of $340,000, all from special revenue funds, which is a decrease of about $14,000 below the approved amount. And the majority of that decrease can be found in contractual services bullet on the right-hand side of the page. And that decrease is due to decreased expenditures on travel, computer services, and postage. And I'll turn the page to page 1882. Right above the box, the governor has concurred with the agency's revised 2021 estimate. The agency did request one supplemental for about $3,000, all from federal funds, so that's all from CARES funds. And those funds will be used for personal protective equipment, telework equipment, and some costs to enable the inspector and the investigator to work from home during COVID. And again, the governor did concur with that supplemental request. And I'll just go ahead and move on to fiscal year 2022 on the next page. Page 1883, looking underneath the box, the agency requests 2022 expenditures of $355,000, all from special revenue funds. This is a decrease of about $4,500 below the 2021 revised estimate. And the majority of that decrease is because there's no more CARES money, so that $3,000 we just talked about. So there's no more CARES money in fiscal year 2022, as well as a small decrease under salaries and wages because the agency has hired a new administrative specialist at a slightly lower salary from the one that had just retired. Turning the page to page 1884. The governor did concur with the agency's 2022 request. And still on page 1884, for fiscal year 2023, the agency requests $336,000, all from special revenue funds. This is an increase of $138 above the 2022 request. And that's due to entirely to increased expenditures on computer services. And the governor again concurs with the agency's 2023 request. And to finish up, I'll just point out the next few pages contain, as you're now familiar with, a breakout of the fee fund and as well as the licensure fees. And those are on page 1887 and 1888. And I'll stand for any questions.
Victoria, you did that very nicely for us. Committee, do we have questions? In the audience, we have Dr. Jody Johnson. She's the Executive Director of Kansas Board of Veterinarian Examiners. Would you like to say a few words to us? Thank you, Jody.
Thank you. I would like to thank our staff because of their ingenuity. As you know, with COVID-19, they were not able to get into a lot of the veterinary practices, that they were limiting public or human people in their offices. They would go out and take their animals from the parking lot and then bring them in to treat them. So our investigator who goes out and investigates complaints, and also our inspector who is inspecting the premises, had to use their ingenuity and learn new technology in being able to virtually inspect and also take interviews from complainants and veterinarians and staff members if there was a public complaint. We did have 69 complaints this year that we have investigated, which is a little bit over what we had last year. In response to the JCAR, we did contact all mobile practitioners and these are DVMs that travel to and practice on a Kansas client's property, and they are not part of a brick and mortar premise. So we premise the brick and mortar ones and we inspect their drug logs and their records, but we have never gone out to these that are mobile practitioners that don't have a brick and mortar premise, that they work from their home and they go out into the field. We are right in the process of accepting these mobile premise applications right now, and we will be auditing their controlled drug logs and patient logs. And they, of course, are going to be assessed a $75 fee. There's approximately 70 of these. And we have about 8 of our veterinarians that have already paid that fee before the June 30th deadline. So on that one. Last year we had 2,683 veterinarians renew by June 30th. And just June 30th is our deadline. With the governor's executive order 19, we were not able to assess any late fees. So we lost approximately $10,400 in late fees. We had 104 veterinarians that didn't meet their deadline in 2019. In 2020, we had 445 that did not meet their deadline. These veterinarians gradually paid their fees, but we still have 30 veterinarians that have not renewed their licenses. We cannot terminate them. We continue to push that expiration date forward a month at a time. Right now, it's 90 days. According to Executive Order 19, it's 90 days past the end of the declaration of an emergency. So we have veterinarians that are out there that are practicing technically without a license because they've not paid their fee for last year. And we can't terminate them. We have to continue to allow them to practice. And so I'm going to be talking to Senator or Representative Patton, trying to see if there's a way that we can end this so that we can get those certified letters out indicating that these veterinarians have been expired and their licenses have been stopped. We also have 21 veterinary technicians that have not renewed. 15 of these are in Kansas. And again, we have to go ahead and extend those registrations that we, by Executive Order 19, we cannot terminate them. So we have there, again, we're at a catch-22, because if it's, you've pushed the emergency date to March 31st, so that means it's the end of July or end of June is the 90 days, which means that's the end of the expiration for this year's license. So we have a kind of a catch-22 here that I would, and I know that the Kansas Board of Veterinary Examiners is not the only licensing agency that's having this issue. And so I would just want to bring that to your attention.
Thank you, Jody. And in fact, we have the chairman of Judiciary on our committee, Senator Warren. So this is good information for our committee that several of us go to right at 10:30 for that too. So thank you for that update. It's always interesting what we learn in our quick budgets that we're doing. Do we have any questions? We have a couple minutes left. Senator Fascadeau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So what were some of the complaints that you heard from, I guess, customers? What were some of the complaints? And so to the licenses that you mentioned, are those veterinarians required to do training or recertification?
They have 20 hours of continuing education they're required to do. Also, if there's any discipline or if there is any felony that they have occurred through the last year, they have to sign off on that, and it is investigated on that. So we don't have any idea on their continuing education. We don't have any idea of any disciplines from another state. We have no idea if there's, because they've signed off on, they haven't renewed, so they haven't signed the paperwork on that. And the complaints, we had one lady who complained because she saw a mobile veterinarian in their storage room and she thought that they were practicing veterinary medicine out of this facility that had not been premised. And of course, it didn't have to be premised. We had one internet complaint that on a registered veterinary technician that she was calling herself a veterinary nurse. Well, she did graduate from Wichita State University, who graduates a veterinary nurse. And even though we only register veterinary technicians, it's just a name change. And she was fine calling herself a nurse because that's the degree that she had received. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Jody. Senator Haley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for the presentation today. I kind of follow up to Senator Fascadeau's question. Do you have an opportunity or do you interface with many, say, drug complaints like with the board? We haven't heard from pharmacy yet. Yeah. But in terms of your veterinarians, the overlap with the drug complaints that they have been issues of what would be prescriptions or other matters?
Yes.
Face with that with pharmacy or?
We do. We have our inspector or investigator contacts the pharmacy board investigators if there's an issue. We had an issue that just occurred with Mitchell Veterinary Supply, actually selling an antibiotic and prescribing, basically without a veterinarian and without a valid VCPR, the veterinary client-patient relationship. And we did contact the Board of Pharmacy on that. They had complaints, so they thought that they had everything under control with Mitchell Veterinary Supply 7 years ago, but evidently they've slipped back into old habits and we're actually prescribing a fish antibiotic to a dog.
Prescribing a what? I'm sorry.
Fish antibiotic, an antibiotic that was over the counter that could legally be given to fish in aquariums, but they were actually prescribing it for a dog. And the lady paid for it, and of course it didn't work. The dog had a fungal infection and the antibiotic didn't work on it. And so she put in a complaint.
And just to, Madam Chair, just go down, the use for veterinary prescriptions often with humans. I mean, there have been allegations of the misuse of prescriptions for human consumption. Would that come under your province, or is that more from pharmacy?
It is illegal.
It is illegal.
It is illegal for a veterinarian to prescribe for a human.
And are there any such complaints that have reached your office? We know it's illegal, but have they reached your office, or would they generate that from some other source?
Right now, unless there is a complaint that is made against that veterinarian, we have no way of knowing what they're prescribing. Their logs show us that they're prescribing to, animals. And when we check their logs, it has to be a complaint, I'm sorry, for us to investigate.
Thank you for that, Jody. I think we should move on. We have 3 more to do. And Victoria, could you make a note in your records for the report of their situation that they mentioned, so that our committee members can report that to the full committee, just noting it?
I will, Madam Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you for being with us in person, Jody. Do I have a motion to pass this out with the governor's recommendation? And Victoria will make the note. Okay, Senator Francisco?
So move.
And I have second? Senator Warren seconds. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. All right, our next 3 are all going to be handled by Saylor Sinclair. Budget overview on Board of Accountancy. So Saylor, you have the rest of the time, and it's 10 o'clock. So welcome to the committee. Saylor, do we have you with us? Do we have Julie Thomas with us?
Chairwoman, this is Julie Thomas with the Division of the Budget.
Good morning, Julie. How are you?
Good morning, I'm fine.
I know our researchers are running from committee to committee, and we put Saylor to the last. Are you able to do what he does, or shall we wait for him or try to move on to the next 2?
Oh, I don't want to take Sailor's thunder. I think he would do it
Okay.
fine, but
Okay.
you could probably talk to the executive director while you wait for Sailor.
Okay, Saylor's on. Okay. And do we have the executive director? I don't have on my sheet. Do we have the executive director of Board of Accountancy?
Madam Chairwoman, this is Susan Summers, and I'm appearing virtually.
Well, good morning, Susan. Are you prepared to do the budget overview?
Well, from my perspective, I am, and I appreciate you understanding my appearing virtually today. I am in phase 2, still awaiting my vaccination, and I have a 93-year-old father that, even though he still lives at home and is fully functional on his own, he still relies on me for a lot of things. So it's imperative that I stay as healthy as I can, and I appreciate y'all understanding that. What you have before you is our budgets for 21, 22, and 23. I won't get into the nitty-gritty of the dollars and cents. Basically, the 21 budget, there was an increase due to the fact that I had an employee that was hired through a temporary agency. And because of that, the money spent for that person doesn't come out of salaries and wages. And of course, there's no benefits. So there's a vast difference between the two. Then COVID hit. And then I hired somebody full-time through the state. So now there are benefits to be paid. So that's why there's a difference in that from 20 to 21. 22, there is a plan for me to retire. I'm saying this with a little tear in my eye. I will be retiring in the first part of 2023. So the budget has been adjusted in 22 and 23 to reflect us hiring a person to shadow me. for at least 6 months, due to the fact that we are a very small agency. There's only 3 of us in the agency. So I carry a lot of the weight and the water for the agency investigations, just about everything other than processing applications. So we've got it in the plan to have somebody hired to shadow me for 6 months so they can hopefully learn everything that I know and can carry on once I leave. Other than that, there has been no change in our budgets. We are consistent with our revenues and our expenditures. We have dropped some in our revenues because the baby boomers are retiring. And when I say baby boomers in our world, it's anybody 75 and up, because accountants, CPAs typically work longer than most people do. They're like lawyers. And so in that regard, we do have a gene pool of about 300 that we anticipate will be dropping off in the next year and a half. But we do have others that are coming in. We have about 100 to 125 new people that come in a year. So we're hopefully going to, once this levels off, we'll stay on an even keel. So there's no need for us to increase our fees, which were increased in 2018. And prior to that, they had not been raised since 1999. So we were proud of that fact that we had gone many, many years without having the need to raise our fees. Other than that, I think that it's just business as usual. There's no surprises here. We don't have a car. We don't have any extraordinary expenditures. Our expenditures are basically salaries and wages and contractual services, as we have 2 attorneys on contract, because being the Board of Accountancy regulating certified public accountants and all things that go with that, you can understand we have a lot of cases that involve litigation. So we're fortunate to be able to have disciplinary counsel and general counsel. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Well, Susan, you did a very good overview for us, and you agree with the governor's recommendation?
We do. Yes, thank you.
All right. In the interest of time, committee, I do see Saylor. Good morning, Saylor. We kind of just moved ahead of you. We were reviewing the budget in front of us on paper. Are you all comfortable asking questions off of this without Saylor's overview, or do you want to hear from Saylor? I think Susan did a nice job with her explanation. All right. And Susan, happy retirement early from us.
Thank you. Thank you. It's bittersweet.
Yes, I imagine so. And if there's no questions, committee, would I have a motion to approve this budget with the governor's recommendation? Senator Thompson makes that motion, second by Senator Fasquedo. And all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. All right. Well, thank you, Susan. You did a wonderful job for us. And so,
thank you.
Okay, Saylor, let's move on to, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me, Madam Chair?
Yes, and we know you're running from committee to committee. So the next one on our agenda, we have 2 left, Board of Examiners and Fitting and Dispensing of Hearing Equipment. Saylor?
Yes, Madam Chair. I'll try to get through this one in the interest of time. There was a little nuances to the Board of Hearing. Starting on page 9, FY 2021, the agency requested an estimate of $26,000, all from the Board of Hearing Fee Fund, which was an overall estimate that was unchanged from the approved amount in the 2020 legislature. The governor recommended expenditures of $41,000, all from the Hearing Aid Board Fee Fund. In FY 2021, the recommendation is an increase of $15,000 above the agency's revised estimate. The increase is due to the addition of $15,000 for a contract of development of an interactive agency website. And I'll go into a little bit of detail on that, since it's a very large increase for a very small agency. So I've talked with the executive director, Dr. Zach Miller, about this website. Currently, he's doing licensures for the Board of Hearing and those who practice in that art, all by hand and all by paper, and they mail it to him. He would like to have this $15,000 increase to make the current agency website more online focused. So you could do licensures online, apply for licensures online, cut down on costs for mailing on paper and costs associated with, physical copies. I can kind of stand on questions on that. If not, I will move to FY 2022.
Let's move on, Saylor, then we'll come back to that if we have questions.
All right. Turning to page 10, FY 2022, the agency requested $27,000, all from the Board of Hearing. This was an increase of $281. And turning to page 11, the governor recommended expenditures of $32,188, all from the Board of Hearing Fee Fund. This was an increase of $5,000. This $5,000 increase was again due to the new or proposed agency website that would deal with licensures online. I can stand for questions on FY 2022.
Go ahead and continue, Saylor.
Yep. Turning to page 12, FY 2023, the agency requested $27,000, all from the Board of Hearing Fee Fund. This was an increase of $182. I provided the major categories of expenditures on page 12 and 13. And on page 13, the governor recommended $32,370, all from the Hearing Aid Board Fee Fund, which was an increase of $5,000. This $5,000 increase was due to that licensures online processing feature that would be added to the agency website. I can stand for questions on FY 2023.
Do you have a little more to finish the report? We can just finish if you like.
Madam Chair, I'm all finished on this.
Okay, thank you. I know we're looking at the fees on the back page too. Committee, I was just asking my vice chair about the $15,000 and she points out to me it is their fee fund agency money on how they want to spend it. So that makes a lot of sense to me and upgrading to a website that a lot of agencies already do. So I'm comfortable with that. And Senator McGinn.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, clarify, so they currently are using kind of a paper system, and this website will be an interactive system for them, so they're kind of going to the modern day world here, I guess, so.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
Committee, you're absolutely correct. I talked with the executive director. He's doing everything by hand. He's a one-man show. As you noted, it's a very small agency with a very small budget. So they've kind of, in lack of better words, kind of been lacking behind on getting an updated website, having licensures all online. So they're working towards that.
Senator Thompson.
One quick question on the increase of $5,000, I think it was for the website maintenance. That's about $416 a month is what charges, because I run websites on my own. We pay a whole lot less than that. I'm just curious.
Yes, Madam Chair, Committee. I believe it's payment to OITS, the Office of Information Technology Services.
Saylor, you did that very nicely.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
If the committee's comfortable with this governor's recommendation, would I have a motion? Senator McGinn makes a motion, and second is Senator Francisco. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Well, Saylor, we have one left with you, and this is Optometry Board. And we also have speaking with us virtually Jan Murray, Executive Director, Board of Examiners in Optometry. So Saylor, let's go ahead and go through their budget.
Yes, Madam Chair, Committee. For the sake of time and for the sake of Jan, who appears virtually, I'll go through this budget very quickly and have her stay for questions. Turning to page 9, FY 2021, the Board of Optometry requests a revised estimate of $166,000, all from the Optometry Fee Fund. This estimate was unchanged from the approved amount by the 2020 Legislature. I've provided the categories of expenditures below. Below on page 9, the governor concurs with the FY 2021 revised estimate. Turning to page 10, FY 2022, the agency requested $172,000, all from the Optometry Fee Fund. This was an increase of $5,000. The request includes one FTE position, which was the same amount in FY 2021. The major points of increase was just in salary and wages due to employers adding more to the group health insurance and public employee retirement. Turning to page 11, the governor concurs with the FY 2022 request. Moving on to FY 2023, the agency requested $174,618, all from the optometry fee fund. This was an increase of $2,519. The increases, again, were in salary and wages. This increase was due to, again, more contributions to the state employee retirement fund and the group health insurance. And on page 12, the governor concurs with the agency's FY 2023 request. I can stand for questions on those 3 years.
Any questions for Saylor? All right, let's see, Jan, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Madam Chairwoman.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. And I concur with everything. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than willing to answer any.
You sound like a one-man show then, Jan.
I am, as I told the other committee, I am the chief cook and bottle washer.
Well, and you have no problem with the recommendation with the governor?
No, none at all.
Okay. Well, thank you. Any questions for Saylor, for Jan? Senator Francisco.
This is not a question, but just noted in the testimony that the board has paid the subscription fee for the optometric patient tracker database so that people were able to renew online. That was foresight, good way to do business.
Yes, and since I am a one-man show, it makes renewal so much easier because everything, all the CE is all in this database. It gets, I call it voodoo magic, into the board's database. And so it's all right there. And more or less all the licensee has to do is just update any information and pay, and he's done, which is really, really nice.
You know, and that sounds very similar to what let's see, who was at the hearing instruments fellow would like to have, so you would be a good example for them.
Yep. Yeah.
Any other questions, committee? We're just having an echo in here, Jan.
Oh.
How about you mute yourself and we'll see if that takes care of our problem in here. Okay, so you're muted, Jan. I would say one of these days, committee, will have our microphones and everything solved, and our heater is solved, in case you haven't noticed. That's not loud behind us, and we're not ringing, which I think we're making progress. And DL is our computer technician who's with us, so that it's very nice to have him in here tweaking this along as we go along. So, well, if there's no other questions, I think that's another straightforward agency fee fund budget. Would I have a motion to accept the governor's recommendation for the optometry board? Senator Francisco makes the motion. Senator Oletha Fasquito seconds. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Well, committee, we got through all 5 of our budgets today. You know, I had a worry there when we didn't have our Saylor with us on the last 3, so we did that very well. So we do meet Friday. We have 4 more to do. And I think we've found the rhythm of this, and we are doing a good job. So our 2 committee members are reporting back to Ways and Means on our behalf. So with that, we're adjourned.